Hello, boys. Welcome to class 11th. And in this class, you are going to have science having three branches, that is, physics, chemistry, and biology. Welcome to the biology class. Up to class 10th, you have studied all this under science and technology. Now there is specification. So we in this class 11th, the biology will be specific and we will be studying more about both plants as well as animals. So the unit 1, it is called diversity in the living world, and the chapter name is the living world. As the chapter name suggests, we are going to study about the world having life. And what is life? Life is a unique, complex organization of molecules that express itself through chemical reactions. And through these chemical reactions, we call it metabolism, living beings exist. After having come to the existence, the living organisms exhibit certain characteristics. What are those characteristics that living organisms exhibit? Growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness. Now let's see one by one what these characters mean. Growth, as all of you know, it is the physical as well as physiological growth. All of us, we teachers, see you children growing in height, weight, physically from class 6th to class 11th. And we are also able to observe the physiological growth in you. So, growth is basically increase in number of cells and increase in mass. And this increase happens due to cell division. We call it mitosis. So mitosis helps us in growth. And in plants, this division occurs continuously throughout life. You must have planted a sapling in your houses, and that must have overtaken you already in your height. And it grows and grows throughout life. And in your previous class, your biology teacher must have told that this is because of a special tissue that plants possess, meristematic tissue. So thanks to meristematic tissue, because of its presence, plants grow throughout the life, whereas animals and we, human beings, have a limited option. We grow in certain periods, and after that period our growth will be ceased. So the division also enables to replace lost cells, as and when the young cells become old, and the old cells will be worn out by younger cells, and this happens because of growth. And some will be unicellular, like amoeba, okay, where the whole body of the organism is made up of only one cell, and that cell also undergoes a division, and that results in reproduction. So growth is not only increasing in mass but also in increasing the numbers. So growth, accumulation of material on the surface, like in non-living organisms, we are seeing mountains, sand mountains, boulders, where physically something will be added. Growth cannot be a defining property in living organisms, because there are conditions. When it is observed in living organism, then only we can explain. Next character, reproduction. Reproduction is the ability of an organism to increase its offsprings, and the organism has to produce similar kind. This happens in two ways. If the gametes or reproductive cells like sperm and ovum, pollen grain and ovum are involved, and because of their fusion, male gamete and female gamete fusion results in zygote formation, and zygote develops into embryo, and the embryo grows into an adult. This we call it sexual reproduction. Whereas in asexual reproduction or asexual reproduction, there is no involvement of gametes. There is only involvement of body cells or somatic cells. Hence, reproduction can be through sexually or asexually. As I said just now, unicellular organisms like amoeba, bacteria, chlamydomonas, they increase their numbers, they multiply their numbers just because of mitosis. And there is no much difference between this reproduction and the growth. So it is clear with the uses of the two terms, growth and reproduction happens in unicellular. Many organisms, for example, do not reproduce, like mules, sterile worker bee, infertile human couples. So the reasons are vary. We will discuss next sessions. Hence, reproduction is a definite characteristic of a living organism, whereas non-living things like your chalk, your blackboard, your desk, your shirt, they unfortunately don't reproduce. So you got basically sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. And the third characteristic of a living organism is metabolism. Metabolism is basically anabolism plus catabolism. Catabolism is breaking of something. A bigger molecule is broken down and smaller molecules are formed. Then we say catabolism. Like we eat food, chapati, dosa, rice, all that. And all these will be broken. And finally glucose is formed. Then we say catabolism. And then anabolism. In anabolism, it is reverse of catabolism, where smaller molecules join together to produce a bigger compound, like amino acid plus amino acid combine together to form protein. So, anabolism plus catabolism results in metabolism. So, there is a lot of involvement of biomolecules. Vitamins are involved, proteins are involved, amino acids are involved, carbohydrates are involved. Hence, the metabolism is the fundamental character of a living organism. Whereas in non-living organisms, there is no metabolism at all. Like one of the anabolic reaction that we observe in plants is photosynthesis. Like 6CO2 plus 6H2O gives rise to the formation of course, all of starch plus oxygen. Here, the carbon dioxide is broken, and after getting broken, it combines with water. So we say carbon dioxide gets reduced to form starch. Whereas in aerobic respiration, C6H12O6, that is glucose, which is formed as the end product of digestion in all the organisms, combines with oxygen and produces ATP molecules. ATP molecules are energy, chemical capsules of energy. So here glucose is broken. Just now I said anything that is broken is catabolism. So both catabolism and anabolism will be taking place in all the living organisms. Now come to the last one, consciousness. Many times we ask you, are you conscious of what you are doing? Are you conscious of the feeling of pain? Are you conscious of your surroundings, like that? So living organisms exhibit this special character of being conscious. So sense their surroundings and feel the stimulus of the environment. The stimulus may be physical stimulus, chemical stimulus, biological stimulus. And the best example that you all must have observed is touch me not plant. When you touch the plant, it just folds itself. So that's consciousness, that's a sensation. Similarly, if you keep a potted plant in a room and darken the room, only open the window through which the sunlight passes. Immediately the stem grows towards the window, towards the light source. That means the plant is very conscious. And we human beings we are all aware of ourselves. We are all aware of our surroundings. That is self-conscious. Hence, consciousness is a great character of all the living organisms. Now, diversity of the living world. As our world consists of both animals and plants, and in that varieties of animals and varieties of plants, we say biodiversity. That term is used to refer to the number of varieties of plants and animals in our region on the earth. The number of species known is something like 1.7 to 1.8 million. Now the question comes, how to identify them? How to know what is what? Hence, there is a need for classification. So, classification is placing of an organism or a group of organisms in categories according to particular system, which is based on certain easily observable but fundamental characters. Hence, a hierarchy is to be built up. So, to start with, we need to give a name to a plant or an animal or any living organism. So there is a set of rules to be followed when we give the names, and this this process or method of giving names is nomenclature. So it is the science of providing distinct and proper names to organisms so that they can easily be recognized and differentiated from others. And plants are based on the principles and criteria of ICBN. There is a organization called ICBN, International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, and this guides the nomenclature for the plants. And the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature helps in naming, identification, standardization of animals. Hence, scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. So we must be thankful to this gentleman. Binomial nomenclature was first introduced by Carl Linnaeus. Remember this great man's name. He published a book, System Naturae. The scientific name of an organism using two words is called binomial nomenclature. So, binomial nomenclature is a system of classification developed by Carl Linnaeus, wherein each organism is given only one name, but that one name consists of two words. The first word is called generic name or genus, and the second part is called specific name or species name. And when we name this, when we give these two words, there are some rules to be followed. What are the rules? Since biological names are in Latin and they are written in italics, so the first word represents a genus and the second word represents the species. Both the words of biological name should be underlined separately, and the italics are printed. Like you are writing, for example, our own Homo sapiens. Homo is genus, sapiens is the species. So you have to underline both the words, Homo as well as sapiens. And in that, capital letter, first letter of the word Homo, H should be capital. And then the first word in genus start with capital, specific species name should start with small letters. And then we come to the system of taxonomy. It is the process of classification based on characteristics of living organisms. And this has got a hierarchy. We'll discuss this